Okay, so today we're going to face one of the most coveted but daunting of egg tasks. We're going to tackle the omelet. First, I like to start with an onion. I've already cut it in half because it's good to get a good grip on. First thing you do is you want to cut it vertically, and then you cut it horizontally. And then that makes it easier to dice. And actually, when you take onions and garlic, it's a base that you start with in a lot of foods. You can put them in stews, it goes good with fish, it's good with all sorts of meats. And the omelet's going to act like a sponge and soak up all of those great flavors. So first you just take the skin off, and then you cut it to try to get to the cloves. This is actually what's called a head. Step is to take your pan and set it to a medium heat. What we're going to do now is put the oil in. Now, this is right from the beginning where you can either make your omelet or break it. So the trick is, first of all, get the oil hot enough before you put any other ingredients in. You want to get it to the right temperature before you put your garlic, because if the garlic burns, it'll sort of turn bitter. It'll go from this nice white to like a dirty brown, which nobody likes. I'm going to start with the onions because, like I said, the garlic takes very little amount of time compared to the onions. And what's interesting about the onions is that they're a very sugar-rich vegetable. And as we all know, I love sugar, so it's a good thing, worthwhile. So I'm going to go ahead and put my garlic in now that it's beginning to brown up a little bit in here. Okay, so when you're going to crack your eggs, the first thing to consider is how many eggs you want in your omelet. Now, you know, whether you're on a diet or not, there's a certain level of necessary eggs that will make an omelet work. The fewer amount of eggs you put in your omelet, the harder it is it's going to get to keep it all together. So I like to go with 3, because especially if you've got like normal size eggs, because if you've got 3 eggs, that means that you have enough to keep it together, but it's not so big it becomes unwieldy. One other little trick besides the peanut oil is milk. If you don't have milk on hand, water works good too, but if you want to add a little bit of this liquid to the eggs, that makes it a lot creamier, a lot frothier. So right now these vegetables are kind of sweating, and that just means that they're trying to, you know, the liquids are coming out of them and it's releasing all those sweet, sweet flavors that are going to be really good later. There's kind of 2 schools of thought. One is that you can, you know, you add the eggs in first, and then you can, you know, maybe saute the vegetables separately and put them in, kind of fold it over. And you know, that might be the difference between a frittata and an omelet, but really it's just a matter of choice, and people do it both ways. I happen to like cooking the vegetables into throughout the omelet instead of putting them inside, because it just makes sure all the flavors get throughout the whole thing. Okay, so I'm just going to slowly pour these eggs in here. And now there's enough residual heat in these vegetables and in the pan itself that I can turn the heat down a little bit low. And this is where your patience is going to pay off, because if you let the eggs cook evenly, slowly, you'll get a much nicer color. If you try to jump the gun a little bit, you'll end up getting brown or blackened. And also it'll end up sticking the pan when you want a nice flip, which we're about to do a little later. You know, maybe you start smelling those smells and you're like, ooh, my stomach's starting to rumble. But really, you just have to like let it sit. This is the most trying part of the whole process, because the less you do at this stage, the better. Alright, what I'm doing at this stage is I'm just sort of probing it. I'm sort of sliding in my spatula on the edge just to see how much the eggs are holding together. I'm no longer stirring it, because at this point if I stir it, I'm going to end up with scrambled eggs, which is not the lesson for today. But what you do is when you find a part, an edge, that which is naturally going to cook faster, you want to slide your spatula underneath and then lift up, like opening the tent, and then just tilt the eggs that are liquidy on top underneath. So, I mean, this sounds like it's tricky, but really it's not. All you have to do is stick your spatula, lift up. Okay, you know how they say it's all in the wrist? Well, that's actually a lie in this case, because it's all in the preparation. You slide your spatula underneath enough times, and really you've hedged your bets. Okay, when it looks like this, you know you're ready. Make sure your omelet's nice and loose so it can go onto the plate properly. And voila! Alright, the dishes are done, and we have an omelet exactly the way we want it. Except, with an egg this good, don't be surprised if your friends want to make a whole meal and not just a snack.